Hi, I'd like to introduce you to a unique program called Smart Recovery. Founded in 1994, SMART stands for Self-Management and Recovery Training and is a recognized secular, science-based alternative to traditional 12-step programs for addictive behavior. SMART has helped people around the world with drug and alcohol abuse, as well as addictions to the internet, shopping, gambling, and my favorite, the pole vault. Seriously, SMART is useful for so many things, and it's not limited to drugs or alcohol, but any substance abuse or problematic addictive behavior. SMART uses techniques that rely on cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most widely used psychotherapies in the world. In particular, SMART emphasizes rational emotive behavioral therapy, or REBT, as founded in 1955 by noted psychologist Dr. Albert Ellis. In a nutshell, Dr. Ellis realized that most people act as they feel and feel as they think. Therefore, most people act as they think. So Smart Recovery teaches us to look at and change the ways in which we think, to change the ways we feel, and ultimately change the ways in which we behave. Whew. It sounds a lot more complicated than it is. It just takes practice. Smart Recovery is recognized by various governmental and healthcare organizations around the world. There are similarities to the 12-step programs. We do believe that if your addictive behavior has become unmanageable in your life, abstinence is an excellent option. But we welcome those that are not yet ready to choose to abstain. And if you have a food addictive issue, for example, you won't be abstaining completely, obviously. But there are substantial differences as well. One of the biggest differences between Smart Recovery and the 12 steps is that the first step is to admit that you are powerless. Whereas had I been paying attention to that poll, I might not have run into it. We in Smart Recovery believe the same holds true for your addictive behavior. No one is putting that drink, that hit, those dice, or that piece of triple thick espresso chocolate cake. No one is putting anything into your hands but you. Therefore, you are the only one to ultimately control your addictive behavior. Recovery has a toolbox full of ideas, and we'll be introducing you to a number of those tools when we take you inside of a meeting. But smart tools are meant to work out in the real world, and it's up for the individual to decide just which tool can fix that loose screw, how much torque to put into it, to enable you to change your way of thinking and rid yourself of your addictive behavior, and in the process, enable you to realize a balanced lifestyle full of realistic hopes and achievable dreams. Smart Recovery has weekly face-to-face meetings around the world, as well as online meetings in chat rooms using text as well as voice technology. These can be accessed through our website, www.smartrecovery.org, where you'll also find online tutorials and reading materials. Some people prefer face-to-face, others prefer online. It doesn't matter so long as you take the meetings to better learn about the tools to help yourself.
God, grant me the serenity.
Oops, wrong room. Smart Recovery also views religion and spirituality as a matter of personal preference, not as an essential element in changing behavior. Here at Smart, we like to focus on the positive things first. We don't want everyone to have to stand up and confess their sins or mistakes, as we prefer to view them, week in and week out. So we often begin our meetings by relating successes we've had since the last meeting. Newcomers are welcome to talk about their history. There is something positive about venting a bit in an environment where everyone is supportive and many have gone through the same thing you have. Even if you haven't really chosen to attend but have been coerced, you are still welcome. Many people find that they like the laid-back atmosphere and the general concern that people show. Our emphasis is on today and tomorrow. Not one day at a time, but for the long term, because that is the magnitude of the commitment that you will need to change your addictive behavior. Another big difference between the 12-step program and Smart Recovery is that we view meetings as temporal, not permanent. We think you need as many meetings as it takes to achieve lifestyle balance. So the emphasis on smart face-to-face meetings is getting you out of them. Hello, guys.
Jeff.
The average person sticks to a meeting from between 6 months and 2 years, and many stick around afterwards to facilitate a meeting and help those that are new to the program. We also welcome people that are coming from a 12-step program or anything else as well. It doesn't matter if you learn some things from another recovery program as well as Smart Recovery, that's fine. We don't all drive the same car, we don't all eat the same diet, we don't all go to the same bar. The most important point is that the program that you choose to work is most likely the one that will.
My employer encouraged me to go to NA, and I went to a couple of meetings, but I'm really uncomfortable with the religious aspects, and I can't see going to a meeting a day for the rest of my life. I want to stop my addictive behavior because I want my normal life back.
Have you ever heard of Smart Recovery? It doesn't require you to go to ongoing meetings forever, unless you really want to. It provides you a set of tools that you use during the week by yourself. I've been a drug and alcohol counselor for over 25 years. And one of the things I've determined from my experience is that there's many people who know they have a severe drug or alcohol problem, but have major problems with the 12-step program. And for those people, the 12 steps may not be just ineffective, but actually counterproductive. Many of my clients are like Stephanie, who you'll meet in a moment, who have balked at the religious nature of the 12 steps. Or others, they've dismissed the idea of powerlessness. And others dismiss the concept of an incurable disease. And because this is a behavior that they know deep down is a behavior that they should be able to control themselves. One of the things that I really like about Smart Recovery is it puts the locus of power and control back on the individual and not externally with a higher power, a group, or even a sponsor. And this kind of program seems to resonate well with many people, just as 12 steps resonates and connects with many other people. As they say, different strokes for different folks. Whatever works for my clients is what I want for them. And their success helps me in my practice.
I see we have a new person. Please know that you are most welcome. And if you're more comfortable just sitting back and listening to the others in the group, that's great. But if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
My name is Stephanie. I've had some cocaine-related problems. It's even affected me at work, so that my boss insisted that I get help. I've been seeing a drug counselor, and I've been to some NA meetings, but I'm just not comfortable there.
Well, the fact that you're here is a success, and don't overlook it. In order for you to make a change in your addictive behavior, you have to adopt a change of plan that will truly work for you. Whether it's the 12 steps or another program, that's great. Maybe Smart Recovery will work for you. Smart Recovery has a 4-point program. Those are, number 1, building motivation to change behavior. Number 2, coping with urges. Number 3, problem solving. And number 4, lifestyle balance. These don't have to be done in any specific order, and quite often more than one is addressed at the same time, specifically lifestyle balance, because you have to get your lifestyle into balance as you're getting rid of the rest of your stuff. But there is a natural progression to the points, and for instance, building motivation to change behavior, the decision to change is really where you have to start. And so that's why I'd like to introduce you to the stages of change model. The Stages of Change model was developed in the late 1970s and early 1980s by James Prochaska and Carlo Di Clemente. They found that all changes in human behavior follow a similar pattern. The first stage is pre-contemplative, where someone comes up to you and says, "I think you have a problem." And you say, "Me? What problem?" The second stage is contemplative, where the same individual or another comes up to you and says, "I think you have a problem," and you say, "You know what? You might be right." The third stage is preparation or determination, where you're ready to make a change, but you're not quite sure when or how to go about it. The fourth stage is action. I'm making a change now, starting today. The fifth stage is maintenance, where the change is taking place and regular steps are happening every day to ensure this change. And the last stage is exit. You get it, you got it, you're out of there. As with all tools in the Smart Recovery toolbox, it doesn't matter what others think, but only what you think. So once you've made a decision to make a change, whether that be the contemplative or the preparation stage, then another smart tool that we use is called the cost-benefit analysis, or CBA. Now what this is you take a piece of paper and you divide it into 4 sections, and on the top you label positive and negative, and on the side short-term and long-term. Very important to list the benefits as well as the costs of your addictive behavior.
Well, I'm not sure I understand. Benefits to using?
Well, yes, you wouldn't use if there weren't benefits, would you? I mean, you have to, it's good to admit it to yourself that you like the high, the buzz, the rush, whatever you want to call it.
Well, Stephanie, I can see why you might be confused. I was too at first. But then when I did my CBA, I realized that the shopping did calm me down at first. But then after I became addicted, I realized that the negatives outweighed and outnumbered the positives, and the credit card bills outweighed the new outfits.
The utility of the CBA is to help you determine where the costs outweigh the benefits, and balancing out short-term wants versus long-term needs, which is the key to a balanced lifestyle. As well, there's another great tool called the Change Plan Worksheet, if you're in a writing mode. And what you do is you take a piece of paper, and by getting your thoughts in black and white, you'll begin to see the changes that you want to make in your life and why.
Wait, I'm a little confused. I just want to quit cocaine. What other changes are you talking about?
You know, sometimes it's helpful to make changes to the people that you hang out with or the places that you go.
Right. It's really helpful to know who can help you and who might be harmful to you in your choice to abstain.
As well, the Change Plan Worksheet can help you in determining what sort of things you want to fill up your time, because you're going to find that
you're going to have a lot of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well put.
True.
I'm probably just overwhelming you, and but that's the beginning of smart recovery, to think about your thinking. So before your brain over fries, why don't we move on to another member of the group?
No problem.
Mr. Bill, how about you? How have you been doing?
Well, good. I've been good. I really think I'm in the action phase. I mean, I still have the urges, and they're tough to deal with, but, you know, I keep updating the CBA. Oh, and the urge log.
Yeah.
Great.
The thing with urges is like its own little toolbox. It's kind of like the separate socket set, independent of the big toolbox, because the socket set has all sorts of different shapes and sizes, just like urges come in different shapes and sizes. It begins to introduce the individual to a variety of choices and lets them decide what works best for them. Many people are beset by urges initially, both physically as well as emotionally, because you've been indulging in your addictive behavior for a long time. It helps if you look at the urges as kind of a wave. You ride the wave and it's going to crest big as the urge hits, but eventually it will diminish and you'll end up on smooth, dry land. We know that over time urges decrease in both intensity and frequency. One of the best tools is the urge log, where you take a little notebook and you actually document who, what, when, where, and how long each urge lasts. With this information, we begin to combat the enemy, or use the information to better prepare ourselves for upcoming situations and events where you might be tempted to indulge in your addictive behavior.
But the urge log, that's a really great another tool that we can introduce Stephanie to. Can you tell us how that's been?
Oh, it's been really good. It's gotten a whole lot easier. At first, it was crazy. I was writing like a madman. I mean, everything. You know, I just thought quitting gambling would mean staying away from the casinos. But I found out it was a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Well, now I get my newspaper delivered. I use the computer, but just for word processing and email, and I get all my news and weather from the newspaper.
Well, that's wonderful, Bill, and if you don't mind me saying, terribly funny.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, it helps to laugh at.
In Smart Recovery, we promote humor, not to be flip, mean-spirited, or disrespectful of anyone's circumstances, but as a sort of therapeutic tonic, to remind ourselves that even though we're smart, we can do some pretty dumb things.
I originally got into cocaine because I was modeling, and it was just all over, the traveling and the parties, not to mention the need to stay thin.
Could you not?
I thought that when I got a regular job, the urges would stop, but they didn't.
The best news about urges is that they do pass, and over time diminish as well. Until last week, I honestly can't remember the last time that I had the urge to drink.
Steve, that's an excellent point. Steve made a great point because, you know what, urges may be unpleasant, but they're not awful. They're just, if you think about it in that way, they're just unpleasant.
Yeah,
and they will go away.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but you know, plus the feeling I get in overcoming my urges just makes me feel stronger. I just think of my urges as my mother-in-law and what I'd like to tell her, but I think of her and her meddling. When I feel an urge coming on, I just yell, "Get out of my life!"
Oh, that's great. And it reminds me of another tool for smart recovery, disarm. Disarm stands for Destructive Self-Talk and Awareness Refusal Method. With this tool, you name or personify the urge, because every message that you get to use is a lie, and destructive self-talk is not you, but your enemy. So by giving the urge an identity, like the salesman, the lobbyist, the telemarketer, you become aware of it and silence it. You can even think of it as Darth Vader, and you're Luke Skywalker, fighting the evil. Well, that's what I did. It's up to the individual to decide what the identity of the urge is to combat it. It also reminds me that in our program, it doesn't matter what factors led to your addictive behavior, just what you want to do to get rid of them. Any human being is capable of change, regardless of the psychological, sociological, environmental, or biological factors that contributed to their addictive behavior. We don't put the emphasis on where we came from, we put the emphasis on where we're going. We in SMART, by the way, are not into labels like alcoholic or addict because we think that labels stick. They can be very damaging. Now it's time to introduce you to the biggest and best tool in the Smart Recovery Toolbox and the cornerstone of REBT, the ABCs. Mind you, these are not to be confused with the CBA or cost-benefit analysis. The ABCs are a powerful tool for urge management, point number 2, and problem solving, point number 3, and dare I say, life in general. What happens with most people that face an addictive behavior is that they think in irrational terms. Irrational being defined as those that are not supported by empirical evidence. Thoughts that in turn lead to unhealthy emotions that often trigger addictive behaviors and problematic outcomes. Through the ABCs, we learn to think in rational terms, thereby producing healthy emotions and freedom from the addictive behaviors. All right, here we go. A stands for the activating event. Basically, A is something, someone, somewhere that sets you off, irks you, angers you, maybe even elates you, that causes you to have an urge to indulge in your addictive behavior. B stands for the irrational belief or thought that you hold about the event. And C stands for the consequences of indulging in your addictive behavior to deal with the event. D stands for disputing the irrational belief with a rational belief, thereby producing E, or the effect of changing your thinking to more positive feelings and freedom from your addictive behavior. All right, now let's see the ABCs in a specific example. We don't define ourselves by a bad habit. We think of ourselves as multifaceted human beings that are capable of change.
Yeah, we do.
So, Steve, how have you been?
Well, after 4 really great months, I had a relapse last week. I'm feeling really bad about it, and I'd like to talk about the incident. I really don't want to go back down that road.
Well, let's do an ABC. That way we can show Stephanie another one of the Smart Recovery tools. Tell us what happened.
Well, I had a really bad day at work, and a couple of my coworkers were going out to basically bitch about the boss. At first I was just drinking soda, and I'd made sure as part of my previous rehearsal that my glass was always full before somebody could ask. But I just didn't feel part of the group. I felt like I was missing out on the camaraderie by not, well, drinking and laughing with the others.
So A, the activating event would be the proverbial bad day at work, right?
Yeah, that's about accurate.
Well, continue. What do you feel then was your B, or your irrational belief at that time?
That I'd be able to have just one, relieve some of the pressure of the day in the workplace by commiserating with the others. That was what I needed to feel better about the day.
Okay, so B would be that a drink or two would be the thing you needed to get through a bad day?
Yeah.
How did these thoughts make you feel?
Angry and frustrated that I got unfairly dumped on by my boss at work, and then I was really filled with anxiety at the bar because I felt like I wasn't part of the party.
All right, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you irrationally thought that a drink or two would salve your anger and frustration and alleviate the anxiety, allowing you to join the party. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about it.
You know, Steve, your recent lapse reminds me so much of how I used to trigger unhealthy feelings by irrationally overreacting to situations beyond my control. The smart light bulb went on for me when I realized that I might be totally powerless to control certain events or situations or people, like my boss. But the true power I had was how I chose to react to those situations.
Exactly. Well, dare I ask the consequences? C?
Well, I didn't drive that night. That was about the only positive. The amount of money I charged was astonishing. I made everybody mad at me, searching for my car and not finding it, which was a positive again. I lost my keys, searching all over my apartment building for them in the freezing cold, only to find them in my jacket pocket after I had broken through my front window after 2 hours. Managing to mess up my entire place. I broke several things. Should I go on?
No. I think that's enough, thank you.
All right.
But let's continue with the ABCs. Can you give us the D? Can you dispute the irrational belief?
Sure. Absolutely. I know from my previous history that one is never just one. I could have rehearsed it better, but I had to go with that.
But then, Steve, wait a minute, I'm hearing a little more rational thinking here. You made a choice. You didn't have to go out with them.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. And didn't you know that they were often going out drinking, and something that you've avoided in the past every week as part of your urge management?
Plus, Steve, you could have rehearsed it, as you pointed out, to commiserate with them without it even having to be an alcoholic beverage.
Exactly.
I don't understand. Rehearsal?
Yeah.
Well, rehearsal and role-playing are two other tools that we use in Smart Recovery to prepare ourselves for events that are coming up that we might encounter an urge to use our addictive behavior. So working with members of the group, or doing it with friends at home, or even just in your mind with a piece of paper, you prepare yourself for what's going to come up that might weaken your commitment.
Oh, I see. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, not at all. We encourage cross-talking in our meetings. Oh, but Steve, getting back to you, how about the E, the effect?
I know that there are certain situations, people, and places that I should avoid right now. I've learned that I should accept the world as it is, not as I'd like it to be, even with my boss.
Excellent. Steve, relapses happen. The average person relapses several times before ending their struggle with addiction. Getting down and beating yourself up would not help. It'll often hurt, because we are often influenced by the way we feel about ourselves. Mm-hmm. If our thoughts are rational and our feelings are healthy, then our addictive behaviors will lose. But if our thoughts are irrational, our feelings are unhealthy, then our addictive behaviors will win.
Okay.
So that's great, Steve. You did a good job by coming here and talking about it.
I'm late. I'm coming. I'm late. Oh, gee. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm late. I better do an ABC on myself. Okay, A, the activating event. I'm late. B, the irrational belief. I've messed up the shoot. C, the consequences. I'm out of breath, and I can't continue. I'm filled with anxiety. D, dispute the irrational belief. Okay, I haven't messed up the shoot. It's only been a couple of seconds, and you might have gotten a chuckle out of my exasperation. And E, that means that I have shown you that the ABCs are not only a powerful tool for urge management and relapse prevention, but they help with emotional upsets of all kinds. The ABCs of REBT help us better manage our thoughts and feelings. Who doesn't recognize ABC? It's a simple format.
It shows us how to manage our thoughts and feelings by changing the beliefs and thoughts that they generate.
The thing I love about Smart Recovery is the way I've been able to use it in my rest of my life, because the tools are truly good for anything. For example, I used to hate driving because I'd lose it in road rage every time someone would cut me off. But what I discovered was that I could clearly define the circumstance just by using the smart tools. I mean, this person must drive faster, that person must not talk on their cell phone, this person must keep his eyes on the road. Smart calls it masturbation, which makes me laugh, I gotta admit, every time I hear it. Thinking that you can control what someone must do. The funny thing is, they probably couldn't even hear me swearing at them. All I was doing was raising my own blood pressure. It makes you realize, though, that you can't control people or things, but what you can control is how you react to them.
I would be remiss, though, if I didn't, as a Smart Recovery facilitator, remind you of a very important SMART tool, and that's USA, Unconditional Self-Acceptance. These are thoughts like, I accept myself because I'm alive and I have the capacity to enjoy my existence. I am not my behavior. Failing at any task does not make me a failure. These are statements and affirmations that we make to make us realize that we are not our bad habits. We are multifaceted human beings capable of change.
Well, that's great. I think it's wonderful that you guys don't beat up on each other. I feel so much better than when I first walked in here, knowing that it's okay, that I'm only human, that I'm not the only one that's made a mistake.
Yeah, you are. You're a great person. You just have a rotten behavior like all of us here. That's why it's so great to seek support at meetings like this. I mean, if you think it's great to be in a group situation like this, think about people in small towns and remote areas who, without the internet online meetings, they wouldn't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe the people that I've met from all over the world. I've made great friends with people from all over, and emailing back and forth has been, one of the best things about my lifestyle balance.
Me too. Me and my buddy, we email each other back and forth, and we talk about our urges. But not only that, we talk about everything else too.
That's great. That's great. How have you been? How's life in the Smart Recovery world for you?
So I've gotten to the point now where I'm no longer worried about my urge to shop in the terms of urge management, problem solving, or even motivation. But what I am worried about is, what would I do with my time?
Point 4 of the Smart Recovery 4-point program, lifestyle balance.
Lifestyle balance involves you sitting down and looking at the lifestyle that you really want. When they look at their addictive behavior, many of my clients are simply astounded at the time they have on their hands without it.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the time is not only comprised of using and doing, but also obsessing about it, getting it, dealing with the fallout, covering it up, money, etc. If you consult the Smart Recovery Handbook, they're going to show you ways that you can devote your time and talents to, and your interests, not only to building a life for yourself, but one that is balanced, meaningful, and rewarding to you.
I saw that and I got confused at first. They talk about SMART meaning specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time. This is a whole new acronym.
Oh, right, yes. There's a method to their madness. Once you've mastered the first 3 points of the Smart Recovery program, you're on to a whole new challenge. What you really need to do at that point when you have that challenge is you have to look at section 6 and on page 16 and 17 of the Smart Recovery Handbook, and there's a whole list of activities there that you can consider. Sharon, create a wish list. Things you've always really wanted to do but haven't had the time, and now that you have the time, go for it.
Wow. What's funny is I'm looking at this list, I see a lot of things that I used to do. Martial arts, performing arts, gardening, even giving tours at the art museum.
Right. And Sharon, you're not alone. That's what addictions do. They take away from what's important to you, but don't necessarily go with what you've done in the past. Try to expand your horizons to have a learning experience. learn more about you.
With your time. So, if I remember from last week, you've done your task sheet and a little bit of goal planning. How's that gone?
Yeah, I completed it myself, and with the help of my therapist, I've signed up to volunteer at the art museum.
Oh, cool.
But I'm just still having problems trying to figure out what to do from day to day.
Yeah,
Perhaps we could brainstorm and... I'm sorry, Dr.
I was going to say, perhaps we should brainstorm.
Oh, okay.
Bill obviously knows his tools, and he's got a good grasp of the program. That's excellent.
Well, I get into something, I really get into it. I've read everything I could put my hands on.
Hey, just be sure that doesn't become an addiction.
Well played. Good point, yeah.
Good point. Well, Sharon, there are the basics. Exercise, getting a good night's sleep, and eating well. We said eating well.
Sometimes it's great to spend more time with your family that you might have neglected.
Yeah, I should spend more time with my son.
Let's not forget that changing our vocabulary can be a very valuable change. Many people are more often affected by their thoughts about things instead of the actual things themselves. So if we make changes in substitutions such as prefer for must, or it is desirable for should, or choose for have to, we begin the process of changing our thinking.
Okay, well that's true. I desire to spend more time with my son.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I read a lot.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. You know, anything that we can do to open up our minds and continue to learn, and that we continue to grow. And by all means, folks, have fun.
Yeah.
You
Good
know
one.
what? I've spent so much time thinking about how I've affected my life. Now it's time to let go and have some fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know any better way to end the meeting than with that. Thank you all very much. This has been a great meeting. As is common, since we are a nonprofit organization, I will pass the hat, and we ask for a few bucks to donate, defray our costs. So a donation is greatly accepted.
Good day.
Thank you. Let's go. Let's go. Let's. There you have it, a brief overview of Smart Recovery. Pretty cool, huh? As we said before, there's much more to be found on our website, www.smartrecovery.org, including detailed descriptions of all the tools that we've shared with you today. Smart Recovery does not take exceptional intelligence, it just takes common sense. The most important thing to remember is that you have the power. You can change your thinking and therefore change your feelings and change your behaviors. We want you to get rid of that nasty, negative, addictive behavior and fill your life with positive ones. I'm reminded of an ancient Chinese proverb. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. Smart Recovery wants to put you in the driver's seat, and you steer yourself in the right direction to a balanced lifestyle. That's it. Just be smart. Thanks for watching.